evolutionary models, or at least they don't use evolutionary models, and their criteria for deciding whether something is the same or different from something else is called the Tinover rule, after Fred Tinover, who says that if you have 3 bands different on a gel, then it's not the same pathogen. So they haven't taken full advantage of this, and so this type of ignorance of evolution is another one that is really in front of us, as well as the folks, of course, who don't believe in evolution at all. So today, what I'm going to tell you about is I'm going to try to address some of these evolutionary questions involving clonal pathogens. We see clonal pathogens in infectious disease quite commonly. The Lance just gave you a great example, the ST398, where you get these clones coming out. But in evolution and in nature, clones are a problem. They go away and then they're extinct. And so clones have very little evolutionary future unless they do something other than clonal reproduction. In the end, whatever they are is doomed to die. So a conversation that I've been having in this arena relates to, do they really die or not? So I'm going to tell you about 3 different pathogens today to illustrate some of these principles. I'm going to tell you about a pathogen called Burkholderia pseudomallii, which is a non-clonal pathogen, and then its progeny species, Burkholderia mallii, and show you how one pathogen evolved from another and some of the principles. Mallii is a clonal pathogen, strictly clonal, and then I'm going to tell you about a pathogen that has dramatically affected world populations over several millennia, and that's Yersinia pestis, the causative agent of plague. And these 3 systems tie together in an interesting way, which I'll show you at the end. So this little animated cartoon illustrates how diversity is generated in a clonal pathogen. So basically, a mother cell divides in 2, and occasionally at some very low frequency, there's a mutation in the DNA. That DNA then is inherited by the progeny, and you end up with a sector that is, in fact, represent a unique sector within that clone. So, for example, this mutation here gives rise to this blue sector. And then, as illustrated in this cartoon, there's a second mutation, which illustrates, in a way, how we construct these phylogenetic trees. To a cladist, you would expect these mutations to be in some hierarchical fashion, and if you can figure out the arrangement of this hierarchy across these different isolates, you can then reconstruct the phylogenetic history of any organism, but in this case, clonal pathogens in particular. So remember that when we're sampling outbreaks of diseases or anything, we get to see whatever's contemporaneous here. So we're looking at these patterns, we're trying to find these mutations, and then reconstruct the lineages that go back to a common ancestor back here.